You know that feeling, right? You find a creative project online. It looks amazing. It says it's simple, and you dive in, only to end up completely frustrated. Well, today we're going to look at a crochet pattern for this unbelievably cute cat, but we're going to go deeper than just how adorable it is. We're going to figure out what really separates a decent set of instructions from a truly great, feel-good creative experience.
So let's set the stage. Our whole case study here starts with the promise of a perfect weekend project. An adorable, beginner-friendly, and, let's be honest, an incredibly squishy crocheted cat. I mean, that's the kind of thing that just grabs you, right?
And here it is. This is the chubby cat from Lumel Studio. It's a style of Japanese craft called amigurumi, and it's designed specifically to create this perfectly round, soft, and huggable little buddy. You see that picture, and the first thing you think is, oh my gosh, I have to make that. That's the hook. And the goal here is super clear and so rewarding. We're not talking about some vague idea. The pattern tells you you're going to end up with something about 5 inches tall and 6 inches wide. It's perfectly huggable. It sets this really satisfying expectation right from the get-go.
Okay, so how do we actually get from a skein of yarn to that adorable cat? Let's pull back the curtain a little and deconstruct the cuteness by looking at the blueprint the pattern gives us.
The list of materials is pretty straightforward. You know, your hook, your eyes, your stuffing. But let's focus on the star of the show here, the bulky velvet yarn. That's the secret sauce. It's what gives this cat its signature plushy, super squishy feel. And the pattern does something really smart. It breaks the whole project down into these manageable little pieces. You make the body, then the head, the muzzle, all the little limbs. You make them all separately and then put them together at the end. It's a modular approach that makes a pretty complex shape feel way less intimidating. And right here, the pattern gives us a little clue that it's something special. It doesn't just say decrease a stitch. It specifies an invisible decrease. Now, this is a total pro tip. It helps prevent little gaps in the fabric, which shows you the designer is already thinking ahead about how to get you a really clean, professional-looking result. But this is where our story takes a little twist, because even the best-intentioned pattern, especially one that's labeled beginner-friendly, can have some hidden challenges waiting for you. Now get this. This quote comes from the pattern's own self-critique section. How cool is that? It points out the first huge hurdle. That beautiful velvet yarn we talked about, it's actually notoriously hard to work with. For a total beginner, not being able to see your stitches, well, that's basically a recipe for disaster. And then you run into hurdle number 2, vague instructions. The pattern tells you to make a flat circle for the ear and then, and I quote, pinch the top of the circle to a point. Okay, but if you've never done that before, how in the world do you do that? This is exactly where a beginner gets totally stuck. And you can see why these little details matter so much. The shape of the ears, where they're placed, it all comes together to create the cat's final expression. If an ear is just a little bit off, the whole thing can go from cute to, well, kind of strange. This brings us to what might be the most critical problem of all, assembly. The pattern says to place the head slightly toward the front. What does that even mean? Being off by just 1 or 2 stitches can be the difference between a cat that looks cute and curious and one that looks permanently confused. This is where precision is absolutely everything. So you're probably thinking this pattern sounds like a bit of a nightmare, but here's the thing. This is where it becomes brilliant. What makes this pattern so great is its most unique feature, an honest and incredibly helpful self-critique that actually anticipates and solves every single one of these problems for you. This whole section isn't just a list of typos or corrections, it's the pattern's superpower. The designer, Lumel Studio, basically became their own first customer. They found all the tricky spots, all the points of frustration, and then provided crystal clear solutions. It's just a masterclass in thoughtful, empathetic design. Remember that confusing instruction for the ear? Well, check out the fix. It goes from a vague pinch to a clear step-by-step process. Fold the disc, pinch the folded edge. Suddenly, all that ambiguity is just gone. You know exactly what to do. It's the same thing with the eyes. The original instruction wasn't terrible, but the solution removes all the guesswork. It tells you the exact round 9, to put them in. This gives you the confidence that you're putting those features in the perfect spot. No more stressing. And what about that super critical head placement? The solution is just perfect. It translates slightly toward the front into something you can actually measure, an overhang of 1 to 2 rounds. It even gives you a mental picture. Think of a cat sitting and looking slightly downward. Now that is how you empower someone to succeed. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that this goes way beyond just making a cat. This is about designing an entire experience that actually cares about the user's journey, from that very first stitch to the final proud moment. A truly great pattern is like a good guide on a trail. It doesn't just give you a map, it anticipates where you might stumble, points out the tricky spots, and gives you the tools to get through them before you even realize you need help. That makes the process itself just as rewarding as the finished cat. So, what if we really learned here? A great creative experience, it turns out, is built on a few key ideas. It chooses clarity over ambiguity every single time. It anticipates where you might get frustrated and gives you precise, actionable solutions. And maybe most importantly, it values that amazing feeling of success you get at the end.
And that really brings us to the core message. Ultimately, the designer isn't just selling you instructions to make a toy. They're selling a pathway to that feeling of pride and accomplishment. That feeling is the real product here.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Whether we're talking about a craft pattern, a piece of software, or even a recipe for dinner, what really separates a good project from a truly great experience? As we've seen with this chubby little cat, a lot of the time it's the built-in empathy that makes all the difference in the world.